Live from Southern California, beautiful Mission Bay, San Diego. This is San Diego Bayfair 2015. Welcome to our live broadcast. Glad you could join us. The next couple hours we will show you 5 heats of unlimited hydroplane racing. We also have the Grand Prix West Final and some other activity for you. I'm Steve Montgomery. Steve David, the H1 chairman, is beside me. Kay Brewer is handling our interviews and pit activity. And Steve David, the draw for heats 2A and 2B, once again, we have Jimmy Shane and J. Michael Kelly in the same section. They are not in 2A, so we won't see them right away. That National High Point Championship should be decided sometime in about the next hour.
It will, Steve, and fans may wonder, how come those guys always end up together? Well, it's a very sophisticated technique to draw heats. We have ping pong balls in a pail with boat numbers, and we randomly draw them out. So this is just freaky. It happens sometimes, and the reality is, though, when you're second in points and you need to beat the points leaders, you literally want to draw them into your heat, because if you can't set them back in points. And what Jimmy needs basically is a first place in this heat, and he pretty much is locked in the championship. But you never know, because then you get another heat where something can go wrong. So if you can lock it in earlier, then you go racing, you don't worry about points anymore.
At this point, I believe the number is 766 points separating the two. There are still 1,200 points available, so it's not a done deal yet. But 400 more points for Jimmy Shane, and it's going to be pretty much fait accompli.
Yeah, it sure is. And if not, they'll wrap it up in the heat after that. But you know, as we found with Hop in the Grand Prix, you never know it, because anything can happen. And this is Bayfair at San Diego. It's salt water. It's a windy day out here. It's a hot day out here. Going to be very, very fast water, but really loose water, too. The winds across this course, where it comes in off the Pacific Ocean today, are blowing almost 18 miles an hour.
But this bay handles wind very, very well.
It sure does. It sure does. It's what a day. And the crowd, by the way, Steve, yesterday was a record crowd for Bayfair. Today as well. Ticket sales have exceeded the last 21 years, so it looks like they've done a heck of a job. The media has done a wonderful job here. Every network has been covering the race out here in San Diego. So hats off to all the people at Bayfair, the Tourist Development Authority out here, for doing a grand job of putting this race on for us.
We might mention, because some of you are probably aware, we had an accident a few minutes ago involving 2 of the Grand National Flat Bottom. This affair with 2 boats getting together. The drivers both are walking and talking and have been taken to a hospital for a precautionary checkup. But in case you heard there was an accident, there indeed was. Looked nasty. It was very scary. Both drivers are going to be okay. It did delay our program a little bit, but we think we're on time for a 1:40 start for Heat 2A. And we're already inside 5 to the 5, correct? So the next countdown we have will be the 1 to the 5. The boats we're going to see in Heat 2A, we're going to see the 3, the piston-powered boat, Home Street Bank. The driver, Jimmy King, is in Heat 2A. The 7, Graham Trucking 2, driven by Jesse Robertson, will be in 2A. The 9, the 811 Red Dot. Want you to call 811 before you dig anything very deep. Great new sponsor in the sport. Scott Liddycoat, the driver. The 11 Peters and May, Tom Thompson, is in 2A, along with the 21 All Access Rentals, Brian Perkins doing the driving. And that, of course, is the O'Farrell family's boat, also known up in the Northwest as Go Fast Turn Left Racing, and Albert Lee Appliance as well. So a great lineup, Steve. When you take those top 2 guys out of the field, it's kind of a pick'em. Makes for great racing. It
really is. Some really interesting stories here too. Home Street Bank, which has came on board in Detroit, and looks like a potential national sponsor. Great people, and they are here in mass to support the 3. As is our good friend from the Ace Hardware Store in Tri-Cities, Washington, the Grigg family that sponsored the 3, Home Street Bank in Tri-Cities. He's gone to every race since then.
Speaking of sponsors being here, our good friend Dave Holly is in San Diego from London. That was a long ride.
It sure was. Peters and May, for those who don't know, an international shipping company. When you have boats or yachts shipped anywhere in the world, Peters and May is one of the largest that do it, and do it well. They send our boats over to the Gulf, Saudi Arabia and Qatar for years, never a problem. Graham Trucking, an old line company in Seattle, Washington. Rob Graham and his family have been with I think the Porter team for almost 10 years now. 811 Dig, they were on this boat in Detroit. They're with us here in San Diego. 811 Dig, if you're doing any type of work around power lines or sewer lines in the ground, landscaping, 811 Dig to make sure you're safe.
Planting petunias, you're probably okay.
Petunias, you're okay. Everything else, make the call. It doesn't call much to make sure you're safe. And then All Access Rentals, and this one is truly a local story. Jeff Johnson was the co-owner of All Access Rentals. Jeff died tragically in a small plane crash a couple of weeks ago. They're here in Moss to celebrate his life. They're sponsoring the 21 as well, and we had a church service this morning with his family, and the kids were just so positive, so powerful. Everything was about the life that Jeff lived and the legacy that he's left. So that's kind of the heart favorite, but this can be a heck of a boat race.
And in the heat we saw yesterday, Brian Perkins looked as good and fast as we've ever seen him. Had a penalty eventually knock him back a little, but he was kind of the class of the field last time out. Hopefully he'll have a good day here. We're leaving the dock. Look at this. Beautiful scene.
About to begin the final day of racing of the 2015 H1 season.
That was Brian Perkins in the foreground. Right beside him, Jesse Robertson. Here comes the three, Jimmy King, Scott Liddycoat off to his right in the white boat, and then Tom Thompson in the chartreuse and blue, Peters and May. A very colorful, very fast field here for Heat 2A. About to go racing here on the final Sunday of the 2015 H1 Unlimited season.
Steve, this heat's got a couple of question marks in it. The 811 Dig and the Peters and May boat both took a lot of salt in yesterday in a couple of tough heats. They're not certain how well these engines are going to last, so it looks like the 9 is running okay. We're not going to know until this heat's over, because when the salt gets in these turbines, the temperatures go to the moon, and heat is the enemy of a turbine engine. So hopefully everybody's running at the end of the day here, but credit to the owners who go, let's put it in the water and see what happens.
Couple of things to watch for early: the score-up situation and the 80-mile-per-hour minimum.
And that's new this season. We've got strobe lights on each one of these boats, and they're set, they're GPS activated. When you fall below 80 miles an hour, a light comes on top of the engine cowling. You get 1 5-second warning. If you don't pick it up above 80 miles an hour, it's a 1-lap penalty. And the reason we've done that, Steve, is the past couple of years, we've had these park and starts where the boats literally shut down and wait to get lane 1. Didn't look good. We don't think our fans liked it, so we've induced it where you're back to going fast.
Score up, boy, different this time. It's on the backstretch, and you must not go past that before the 1-minute mark. So we will be counting down to the 1 minute and seeing exactly where the boats are. We had some interesting situations yesterday where guys came up to the score up, boy, knew they were early. In fact, Brian Perkins did that in the heat I was talking about. Had to go in and do another half lap and then come around and catch everybody, which he did. But the score up, very important, and it will go a long ways toward determining the lane selection here in Heat 2A.
Absolutely. Watching at home, what you'll want to do is as the boats are approaching us now, you're looking at the 3. He just passed what's a VR indicator for the airport here. At that island, you want to be there no earlier than 60 to 65 seconds before the start. If you're any earlier than that, chances are you're going to get called for going under 80 miles an hour. So it's really strategic here, because you can't go too slow, you don't want to jump the gun, and you got to be in the right place to get lane 1.
And we should explain to anybody who did not join us yesterday or has not been here, the start-finish line is way across the bay from us. We are in the pit tower, right above the pit area. We are at the end of the back chute. So the boats, as they come up the back stretch, come right toward us here on our tower. Our view of the first turn with the naked eye is a long one. They are way, way down there, and you will hear us doing our best to identify the boats into that turn, but they are a long ways from here. We kind of get confused with the traffic over there on I-5, which is just above that turn. But all 5 boats, Steve David, up and running, rooster tails all over Mission Bay.
And it looks so far, now the key is they're going slow that way. You can't fall below 80 miles an hour. You could blow the race before you ever get started. Some of them a little bit early. They do have 5 seconds to pick it up. Orientation-wise, Steve, we're looking north. We're looking towards Los Angeles. Behind our backs, San Diego and Mexico. To our left, and at home, if you're looking to the left, the Pacific Ocean is less than a half a mile away.
Absolutely glorious setting. We were worried about the weather. It rained so hard here on Monday, the locals couldn't deal with it. Beautiful since then, and absolutely, I've never seen San Diego look better than it does right now.
88 degrees temperature, sunny, few clouds, and the wind, though, 18 miles an hour off the coast. Coming down this straightaway, this wind over the right spots is going to be something to watch for.
Here's a countdown now. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark.
They're all good. That's good. You got 60 seconds left. They're not to the where the VOR is, the island is. They're good. This can be a fast start, Steve. And if the 11 is able to run, he could almost hammer it now and nail the start. If his engine's giving him problems, though, he's not going to be able to do that, because now you just saw the red jump outside the lane 4.
Jimmy King was over on the inside. He ran out of water, had to come out to lane 4.
At this yellow pin, the entry pin, that's about a 21-second point. If you hammer it there at 21, you should nail the start. If not, your next option is at the exit pin, the yellow buoy, and that's about 9 to 10 seconds.
Scott Liddycoat has lane 1. Brian Perkins is in lane 2. Jesse Robertson in lane 3. Out in lane 4, it's the piston boat with Jimmy King. Tommy Thompson way on the outside. Turning left, Steve David. The time looks pretty good.
It'll be a fast start, I think. Yep. Right on the marks, basically 9 seconds. The inside's a little early. The outside guy should be okay. 5, 3,
2, 1.
About a
mark.
second late, maybe. The
Very
outside
hard to tell
boat.
from here. Liddycoat did not hold the lead. I believe Brian Perkins moved out ahead of him.
Boy, there's an outside boat
the start
really
line.
running, Steve.
Getting into the turn now, we'll be able to see the boat on the inside and who is off to his right. The start is under review, Steve. It was closer than we thought.
Yep.
So
Home
we're not
Street
sure yet
Bank.
about the start.
Home Street Bank coming out ahead, but way outside.
Look at Jimmy King. He has the red boat really rolling on the outside. He has white boats off to his left. Coming right toward us now, you see Jimmy King. He's in about lane 3, and he is leading the field. That was a tremendous first turn for Jimmy King, Steve.
A ton of speed coming into this turn, but look at lane 1 and 2. Nobody's got room to move over on anybody yet. So Jimmy's got to stay out. The inside boat's got to stay tight.
Jimmy King rocketing through turn 2 for the first time.
Now watch coming out of this turn, though, Steve. Watch, look at the inside lane. There goes the 9.
Scott Liddycoat took over the lead.
Looks like his engine was just fine after that salt yesterday. The 3's going to have more chute speed going up, but the 9's got the benefit of being in the inside.
And now Brian Perkins is in a little bit of a bad spot. He's in lane 2, and there are 2 boats ahead of him. His lane is going to get very narrow through this turn. We'll try to keep an eye on him. Liddycoat on the inside, using the short course to take the lead away from Jimmy King, who ran a tremendous first lap. But now the leader is the 811 Big. Scott Liddycoat in the 9 went a little wide on the exit.
Home Street Bank right next to him, Steve. Here's the advantage. You got 2.5 miles. If you're in lane 1, it's a 2.5 mile course. You're out 50 feet. You got to add a lot of distance to that, but Jimmy's going to use his speed down the straightaway. The 9 has the advantage of lane 1. This is going to be a top speed race, but the 9's sticking right with him. The 811 is hauling buggies.
Scott Liddycoat and Jimmy King side by side into turn 2 for the second time. Brian Perkins fell back a little bit, got into some rough water. 4th place now is Tom Thompson coming by.
We're missing the 7, Steve. I think the 7 broke down along the course somewhere.
So Jesse Robertson is somewhere way down at the other end of the race course in that dark boat. We have finished 2 laps. Liddycoat the leader, Jimmy King right beside him, though. A great boat race here into turn 1 for the final time.
Boy, and here's the advantage of lane 1. And they were so afraid this engine, Steve, had gotten cooked yesterday in the salt water. The 9, he's just not giving up. He's running hard. The 3's running as hard as he can next to them. This is going to be a top-end race down the straightaway.
This is Scott Liddycoat's best heat of racing since joining the Jones Racing team, Steve. This is really looking good, but he still has Jimmy King on his right. Look at this drag race coming right toward us.
Home Street has got him on top end, but 811 has got the advantage of the inside lane, and Scott is driving his heart out, as is Jimmy King. That's an unlimited hydroplane race, Steve.
End of the turn, you see the advantage on the inside. As soon as they turn left, Liddycoat moves out a little bit, but Jimmy King will hammer it down to start finish and try to take over. I believe Liddycoat is going to be able to hold him off, Steve.
Boy, lane advantage on that one. Jimmy King had top end speed, but you got to have 5+ miles an hour to be able to beat something inside. The 7 picked up again. Something happened. He's back running again, Steve, but he's got a couple laps to make up.
Brian Perkins came by. He'll finish 3rd. I'm not sure if Jesse is in position on the water. We'll have to get the ruling on him. I believe he was down for a while. We were missing a boat. Tom Thompson will finish either 4th or 5th, depending on the official order of finish.
And Steve, I'm going to check with our officials and find out what they do is a video review of the start, so I'm going to check out for just a second and verify.
We did understand that the start was under review. Then we were told that it was good, correct? The start was good. The order of finish that we've been given by the officials preliminarily has Scott Liddycoat in the 811 Dig red dot in 1st place. 2nd place, a great run for Jimmy King.
Steve, it's a good start. Close start, good start.
Exactly. Jimmy King in the 3 Home Street Bank. A great run, and he's in 2nd place. 3rd will go to Brian Perkins in the All Access Rentals.
It's still under review for one boat going slow.
There is a boat being reviewed for perhaps a violation of the 80-mile-per-hour rule before the start. Steve David will have more on that. We were on the 3rd place boat, the 21 All Access Rentals. Brian Perkins had his nose right there in the beginning, dropped back a little bit. Everybody's okay, understand, on the 80-mile-per-hour rule, so no problem there. So Perkins in third place in the 21 all-access rentals. Fourth place, we have it as Jesse Robertson in the Graham Trucking 2, and that's something we need to check. Was he in position to be in fourth place? Fifth place will be Tom Thompson in the 11 Peters and May. We believe that Jesse went down in the water and then reappeared. Now the boat is very dark black. We could have just lost him here on this big bay temporarily. But it did appear for a time that we only had 4 rooster tails on the water. Jesse did finish in fourth place on the water. Is this the way the officials called him across the line? So the officials had him in fourth place and Thompson in fifth. Apparently, Steve, this is the way they finished with Jesse Robertson in fourth place and Tom Thompson fifth.
They're just reviewing some video, Steve, and we're about a minute away from that decision.
So
hey guys,
something
Steve,
is being reviewed, and Steve David is checking on that for us now.
Roger that. Everything was good?
We have the head guy right here, so any calls that need to be made, we'll be able to let you know as soon as they are official. A great heat of racing here to start our Sunday. Jimmy King hooking it up with Scott Liddycoat in the 9-811 dig. Home Street Bank and the 811 dig Red Dot giving us a great heat of racing to start our day here. And we have another one coming up. How's everything, boss, officially?
Good news. Everybody was clean. Everything was fine. The strobe lights worked. The 9 never fell below speed. It did not come on. So good, clean race. Drivers all did a good job. That was a heck of a start, Steve. It was close enough. It's under review. And when we say under review, when the naked eye can't tell, we go back to the start-finish clock, which has a line down the middle of it. And if you're over, you're out. If you're not, you're not. They were all right there. So great job of racing. Congratulations to the 9 after yesterday. That's a heck of a comeback for the 811 dig boat with Scott Liddycoat.
The officials have a video camera dedicated to the start-finish line. And it has, as Steve mentioned, a light that's in the view of the camera. The light comes on exactly as the clock hits 0000. So we have 30 frames a second. So we can tell within a 30th of a second exactly where you are when that clock hits 0 and the light comes on. And that's what the officials review when we say the start is under review. And the fact, as you said, that the naked eye couldn't call it means it was pretty close.
Yeah, very close. I, unfortunately, Steve, lost my last race of my career here by being 3 feet over the line. After they review it, it's clear at 30 frames per second. If you're 3 feet over, it's literally a tenth of a second.
At almost a football field per second.
Yeah.
3 feet over. You know, I always wondered how you could even be that close. And so many, I mean, the majority of the drivers' starts are great. They're right on the line.
Yeah, and it's, you know, to get up to the unlimited ranks, they had to do it well. Some of the best starters the sport's had are currently with us. You're going to see 2 of them coming out this next heat. But give credit to Brian Perkins' last heat in the Home Street Bank. I mean, what a race. But Scott Liddycoat on that one really showed he had a bad day yesterday. He got hosed down. Tough thing, they didn't know if the engine was going to last. They put it behind him, came out and won the race. So credit to 811 dig, credit to Scott Liddycoat, to the Jones family that owns the boat, and to their crew chief. Yesterday he had an accident in the truck, got hit in the head, and he's got some staples in his head. Possibility that helped him do a better job.
We've been watching Scott Liddycoat on and off now for a couple of years. In my mind, that's his best heat of racing so far.
He really did drive his heart out. Scott, in fact, was on my crew the last year that I drove, and he was one of my cockpit guys. And just a wonderful guy, wonderful family. They're out of Virginia. Scott's a Canadian, now lives in Virginia. His wife and his family works for a large motor coach company. Technologically very savvy. He also runs in the big monster trucks.
Once he had done that and came back to us, I asked him, what's the difference? And he said, these are faster and smoother, actually.
Than the truck.
Yeah.
You'll see his wife next to him. His wife is with the company that makes a lot of steering systems for major yachts and things like that, Teleflex and what have you. They got a young son, I think it's back home Grant, but great family, really involved in region racing as well in the Virginia, North Carolina area. And for folks in the East Coast of the United States, region racing is where this all begins, whether it's going to be a J-Stock outboard like you saw earlier or a 5-liter class Jersey Speed Skiff. Whatever your budget, whatever your age, American Powerboat Association has racing for you throughout the United States. Looks like she's got Scott with her right now. Kate
We've got Scott Liddycoat down here. Scott, you couldn't get that hatch up fast enough. Your team was so excited to congratulate you back in here.
Yeah, that was a good run after yesterday. The team worked real hard to get that motor back in shape to even compete today. So I got to give my hats off to those guys. They bust their butt every week. And They gave me a hell of a race boat, so we're looking forward to the next couple heats.
That was a great start. It was on a review. You guys were side by side with you and Jimmy King the whole race.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But anyway, that was a great race. Great for the U9 Les Schwab Red Dot boat. So we'll see you in the next heat.
All right, we'll be looking forward to see what goes on in the next heat. I think there's going to be some fun Tiger moves in the next heat with Scott the Tiger Litico.